A Japanese animation studio with dreams of expanding to the US, a US television network with a bad case of robot fever, a legendary producer looking for just one more hit to prove he's still got it. And the only things standing in their way were the Smurfs, the Ewoks, and the GoBots. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of Mighty Orbots. Mighty Orbots is an animated series that originally aired 13 episodes on ABC in the US from September to December of 1984, the first completely original giant combining superhero robot cartoon series developed as a cooperative effort between the US and Japan, ultimately defeated by original cartoons from both the US and Japan. Earth, the 23rd century, and mankind has reached the stars. A time of robots and aliens, and of destruction and terror. Earth has become the headquarters of the Galactic Patrol, the police force of the United Planets, and life is anything but dull. Within the concealed headquarters of the Galactic Patrol, Rondu, the patrol commander, sees the situation and realizes that this is a job for Mighty Orbots. Far across space, there is a planet called the Shadow Star, a hollow planet so huge that it has its own inner sun to warm it. This is the headquarters of Shadow, the most evil organization in the universe. Here in the massive Shadow Fortress, Umbra, the ruler of Shadow, is spinning yet another in a long series of webs for Mighty Orbots. Meet Rob Simmons, the secret inventor of feisty, watchful mother hen Ono, Mighty Tor, versatile, shape-changing Bort, elusive Boo, mistress of illusion, Bo, the master of the elements, and the all-purpose disposal unit Crunch, the metal muncher. Can the Galactic Patrol, defender of the United Planets, stop the evil computer Umbra? You bet they can, with super robots forging together at Rob's command, bursting forth from their underground recharge chambers to form Mighty Orbots, champion of the universe. Thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. Go to rocketmoney.com/secretgalaxy to get started for free and take control of your finances today. These days, it seems like everything comes with a subscription. Movies, TV shows, music, books, toys, more movies, movies again. I think I'm subscribed to at least 4 different services right now just for movies that I don't even watch. Hey, it's easy to lose track from month to month, but thankfully Rocket Money is here to help. Rocket Money is an easy-to-use app that helps you save more and manage your money better. Once you connect your bank account, Rocket Money identifies all of your subscriptions in a single list. From there, you can select the ones you don't want anymore, and Rocket Money may be able to help you cancel with just a few taps. Rocket Money has helped its customers save up to $740 a year when you use all of the app's premium features. They've also helped customers save over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/secretgalaxy or click the link in the description below to get started for free. Again, that's rocketmoney.com/secretgalaxy, and thanks again to Rocket Money. In 1963, at just 25 years old, Fred Silverman was named head of daytime programming at CBS. He overhauled CBS's Saturday morning schedule with a slate of superhero action shows like The New Adventures of Superman, The Batman-Superman Hour, and The Herculoids. And then re-overhauled it a few years later after many of the shows on Saturday mornings across the 3 major networks were deemed too violent by child advocacy groups. In their place, Silverman put shows focused less on superhero action and violence and more on music and comedy. In particular, The Archie Show in 1968, whose success led Silverman to push for the development of a similar program about a group of mystery-solving teens and their talking dog. Hanna-Barbera's Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Was also a hit for CBS and forever enshrined Silverman's role in its creation by naming a character after him. Fred, to be clear. Scooby-Doo's success certainly played a role in Silverman being promoted to Vice President of Programs for CBS in 1970. In 1971, Silverman did the same thing with primetime that he did with Saturday morning, replacing rural-focused shows like Green Acres and Hee Haw. Rural Juror. Rural Juror.
Ah, the Rural Juror. That is something.
In 1971, Silverman did the same thing with primetime that he did with Saturday morning, replacing rural-focused shows like Green Acres and Hee Haw with hits like The Mary Tyler Moore Show, All in the Family, and MASH. In 1975, he moved to ABC to become president of entertainment, tasked with finding a way to compete with all the successful shows that he put on the air. Silverman utilized the same blueprint at ABC. He refreshed their Saturday morning slate as he continued to partner with Hanna-Barbera. He even brought back superhero action with Super Friends in 1973 and Scooby-Doo with the Scooby-Doo Dynamite Hour in 1976. Hanna-Barbera was an ideal partner for Silverman thanks to their budget-friendly style of animation referred to as limited animation, essentially a process of animating images that relies on the use and reuse of stock movements, character reactions, looping backgrounds, mirror imaging, anything to minimize the need to create new animation cells. It was time-saving and cost-effective, and it was the standard for television all over the world. Japan used limited animation for television productions going back to the 1960s as well, with shows like Astro Boy, Gigantor, and Speed Racer. Those, of course, were their American names, as they were adapted for the US market in 1964, 66, and 67 respectively, some of the earliest examples of cartoons produced for Japan that found their way to US television. Regardless of efficiency and affordability of a limited animation style, there were artists and studios in the US and Japan who wanted more from television animation. Artists who wanted to bring the look and feel of full animation, the kind of animation Disney produced for movies, to television. Higher frame rates, fewer recycled animations, and more realistic action. Osamu Dezaki worked on Astro Boy in Japan as both an animator and a director in the 60s. Through the 70s, he was one of the prominent voices who helped establish many of the stylistic visual attributes that became the hallmarks of anime on series like 1970's Ashita no Joe and 1971's Lupin III. Dezaki frequently worked on projects for the animation studio Tokyo Movie Shinsha, or TMS, who in 1975 founded an animation school specifically to teach a new generation of animators how to produce Disney-style full animation. It was an investment not only in the medium, but in the future of their own animation business. The Full Animation Initiative was led by TMS founder Yukata Fujioka. He wanted TMS to expand operations into the US to one day rival Disney in their quality and quantity of animation production. To do this, he needed to find willing collaborators with money on the other side of the Pacific. Japanese cartoons were being imported in the US in the late 70s, albeit as localized adaptations with heavy edits. 1972's Gatchaman in Japan was adapted by Sandy Frank as Battle of the Planets in 1978, while 1974's space battleship Yamato was adapted by Cluster Entertainment as 1979's Star Blazers. Other Japanese companies like Bandai and Takara had already established themselves with American customers. Mattel's Shogun Warriors line of toy robots was a partnership with Bandai subsidiary Popey, while Mego licensed and rebranded Takara's Micro Man as Micronauts. Both toy lines had success in the US in the late 70s, but were overshadowed by the debut of Star Wars in 1977. Not only was Star Wars one of the most popular toy lines on shelves, but it demonstrated the power of visual media like movies or television to drive demand for licensed merchandise. In 1978, Fred Silverman left ABC to become the CEO of NBC, one of the few people to be head of all three major networks at some point, once again tasked with competing against shows that he put on the air. This time, the blueprint of reinvention didn't work the way it had at both ABC and CBS. Silverman spent just 3 years at NBC before leaving it in 1981 to start a new production studio called Intermedia, where he could focus on developing new shows to sell to those same three networks. In 1982, Bandai once again attempted to court American consumers with fantastic form-changing robots called Godaikins, much more complex and refined than the Shogun Warriors they released through Mattel a few years earlier. Godaikins were repackaged, pre-existing toys from various Japanese cartoons and live-action television series. For example, and I'm just gonna pick one at random, I don't know, 1981's Godmars. A Voltron-style giant combining robot made up of 6 smaller robots, each named after different godly entities: Sphinx, Uranus, Titan, Shin, Ra, and Gaia, piloted by a boy named Takeru. The cartoon ran 64 episodes over 1 season in Japan from October of 1981 to December of 1982 with animation by TMS. Bandai followed Godaikins in 1983 with Machine Men, a repackaged assortment of their pocket-sized budget line of form-changing robots called Machine Robo. Neither line was supported by a movie or television series and therefore floundered in the US. See, American kids are dumb and don't know how to play with things without explicit instructions. American retailers were left with thousands of dollars in lost sales of Godaikins and a grudge against anyone trying to bring Japanese robots to their shelves. There was absolutely no way they would tolerate anything even remotely approaching a robot craze in the 80s, so don't even try it.
GoBots, and you control their every move. Behold, Fitor, Copter, Turbo, and Psykill. The GoBot invasion has begun. Each sold separately. GoBots from Tonka.
In 1983, Mattel's Masters of the Universe and Hasbro's G.I. Joe established a new blueprint for how to sell toys to dumb kids in America who don't know how to play real good. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe aired 5 days a week in syndication and propelled Mattel to the top of the action figure or dolls for boys market. Thanks to the Reagan administration's deregulation of the kids' television industry, Masters of the Universe was followed by a deluge of 22-minute, syndicated programs aimed at 5 to 11-year-olds that attempted to disguise advertisements as entertainment. In an attempt to fast-track production of both an animated series and a toy line, toy companies turned to existing properties they already owned or found something from Japan to license in the US, or both. Tonka entered a partnership with Bandai to bring their Machine Robo toys back to the US, this time with a fully developed mythology and millions of dollars of marketing support. The newly branded GoBots were on the retail shelves in the US in January of 1984 with an animated series by Hanna-Barbera targeted for September of 1984. Hasbro entered a partnership with Takara to license several of their Microchange and Diaclone toys with a new unified mythology. The newly branded Transformers were on retail shelves in the US in May of 1984 with an animated series by Marvel and Sunbow Productions, also targeted for September of 1984. Tonka and Hasbro predicted that 1984 was going to be their most successful year ever for a new toy. Sales of both GoBots and Transformers toys put the retail market in a robot toy frenzy. Both companies had orders in the range of $100 million or more, which, according to an article in September of 1984, was more than the Japanese factories were capable of producing. Those numbers easily surpassed Coleco's record-setting sales of $60 million for Cabbage Patch Kids from 1983.
Oh, awesome! Whipcore. I got that one. You do?
These kids can tell you what's hot and what's not for Christmas, and awesome might be the word to describe the popularity of these robot action figures. And remember, it's only October.
They'll have an ad in the paper and you run to get one and they're already gone, and there's not that many in stock anyway.
Hasbro Bradley figures it will be able to meet only $80 million of the $100 million in orders for its new Transformers. The gizmos look complicated. You have to move a piece here and a piece there to transform a vehicle into a robot.
Previously scorned retailers begged for more robots to satisfy customers that couldn't get enough. From that same article, quote, "Some stores even have asked Tonka to quit advertising GoBots. Demand is so high they're forced to turn potential customers away." Everyone wanted in on the robot craze. Matchbox produced Voltron toys. Milton Bradley produced robotics. Tomy added Starriers. Ideal, a division of television network CBS, had RoboForce. ABC wanted in on the robot action as well.
Brutes like no heroes ever seen before. Just another tranquil day on Earth, except for that rocket plunging towards us. If anything can save us, it's Super Brutes, man's greatest force against evil. With Rob and Ono piloting Brutes, this dangerous situation will soon be A-OK.
Fred Silverman's relationship with ABC positioned him to sell them a new animated series created by Barry Glasser, and also leverage that renewed connection with ABC and their wallet to have the animation produced by TMS. ABC had previously worked with TMS on The Littles and Rainbow Bright. For TMS, this had the potential to be the kind of relationship, the kind of breakthrough series that TMS had been looking for since the mid-70s. A trans-Pacific developmental partnership on a completely original Saturday morning cartoon series with full, fluid Japanese animation on American television.
Linking up the five, Tor, Boo, Bort, Bo, and Crunch become the most massive force for good against any evil ever seen on Earth.
Brutes, individual robots of special strengths and powers, squaring off into superhero proportions, then linking together to form Super Brutes, the giant robot that patrols the universe.
Mighty Orbots was directed by TMS's Osamu Dezaki and featured character designs by Akio Sugino. Why Orbots? Producers seemed convinced that an anagram of robots was the only way forward, as evidenced by the original name Brutes, as seen in a 6-minute pitch reel. Orbots was less aggressive than Brutes, or their combined robot form, Super Brutes, and it had the benefit of having the word bots in it. We'll come back to that. The anagram games continued with the character names. Rob, the pilot and creator of Mighty Orbots, was played by Barry Gordon. Tor was played by Bill Martin. Bo was Sherry Alberoni, while Boo was Julie Bennett, and Bort was Jim McGeorge. Crunch was played by longtime Scooby-Doo Don Messick, Noel North played Ono, and Gary Owens provided the narration.
Go, mighty Orbot's. They're joining together to fight for what's right everywhere.
The opening theme was composed by Tom Chase and Steve Rucker, with Warren Stanier providing the vocals. Other music for the series was written by Yuji Ono. However, just a few episodes after its premiere, Mighty Orbots found itself in the crosshairs of Tonka's GoBots. Tonka filed a trademark infringement suit alleging that Orbots was a little too close to GoBots and would create market confusion, potentially damaging Tonka's hefty investment in promoting GoBots throughout the country. As stated in an October 1984 article, Tonka was seeking compensatory damages in excess of $10,000 and all the profits from the Orbots characters promoted by TMS Entertainment. Joseph Joyce, general counsel for Tonka, claimed he'd seen all of the Mighty Orbots cartoons and found them to be confusingly similar to GoBots. To be fair, my mom said the same thing at the time. Citing the nuh-uh precedent, a lawyer from TMS countered that they didn't think the name Orbots was confusingly similar to GoBots at all, and that the suit was utter nonsense, because toy makers have made robot toys for years and have used variations of the word robot in their product names. Despite the legal action by Tonka, ABC and TMS were able to complete the full 13-episode season of Mighty Orbots, including a final episode that brought the conflict with Umbra and the fate of Mighty Orbots to a conclusion, a proper series finale for a show that they knew would not return. History records Mighty Orbots as but a blip in a vast cluttered sky of much more popular robot cartoons and toys, but at the time, statistically, it was one of ABC's most successful new shows, just not quite successful enough. According to Mighty Orbots writer Buzz Dixon, quote, "It was a very peculiar situation. What happened, we usually came in second place up against Smurfs and the first season of Muppet Babies. We were never more than 6 or 8 points out of first place, the most successful new show that ABC had." Furthermore, ABC was scrambling to lock in the next big thing for the 1985 season. Back to Dixon, quote, "Unfortunately, ABC made some not very wise decisions. They bought a lot of shows sight unseen. They were committed to a lot of shows that had pay or play options where they had to run them. Orbots just got squeezed out. Your Honor, let the record show that the Mighty Orbots time slot was vacated to make way for..."
Today, rise up with the mighty Ewoks and live the adventure. Then look, R2-D2 and C-3PO are heating up the galaxies. Today, treat yourself to fun with the Ewoks and droids. You'll love it.
Mighty Orbots was produced for broadcast in America and for home video in Japan, so there are definitely some Japanese tapes out there somewhere. In 2018, Warner Brothers, the current owners of the series, released all 13 episodes on DVD. As of this video, some episodes are on YouTube and other archival sites on the internet. Mattel was working on Mighty Orbots toys in theory, but the series came and went so fast they didn't even have time to develop an actual production model. The closest they got was a prototype that appeared in a 1985 preview catalog that may or may not have been inspired by Bandai's Godmars figure from just a few years prior. If you really need some kind of Mighty Orbots figure for your collection, you can try to track down an unlicensed Korean knockoff called Unrivaled Obot, produced sometime in the 90s, or do what some fans have done and just repaint an old Godaikin Godmars. There are 2 prominent legal filings that anyone can look at on the internet. Both have been used to point the finger at Tonka and the GoBots for causing the premature cancellation of Mighty Orbots and the discontinuation of Mattel's combining robot toy. But if you look a little closer, you'll see that it never really got that far. Yes, Tonka was making a concerted effort to cajole TMS into discontinuing production of Mighty Orbots, but the rulings are less substantial than they appear. The first is merely a judgment on behalf of TMS that the case should be moved to California, where TMS's US operations were headquartered, instead of Minnesota, where Tonka was headquartered. And the second essentially states that the case has been dropped because the 2 parties mutually agreed to drop it. Tonka had attempted to settle things between the 2 companies before Mighty Orbots went to air, then through the court system after it did. In the end, they didn't have to do anything. TMS, ABC, and Intermedia didn't need Tonka to shut down production. They shut it down on their own when it became clear that they weren't going to beat the Smurfs on the dial. The Ewoks took their time slot, and the Transformers won the robot war. So much for the Mighty GoBots. So much for the Mighty Orbots. Thanks for watching. Now I gotta wait for it to scroll up. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. Please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy. Several different tiers to address your specific Secret Galaxy content needs. I gotta rewrite that. Check out the Secret Galaxy merch shop at secretgalaxy.shop. All merchandise is physically in stock and ready to ship. Links to all of this in the description below, and let us know in the comments down below if you've ever heard of Mighty Orbots and if it bugs you as much as it bugs me that Mighty Orbots is both singular and plural. I had no idea this show existed back in the day. I was absolutely watching Muppet Babies, and I'm not afraid to admit that. Clearly the record shows that I was not the only one. In fact, I even recorded an episode because it was a Marvel Productions production, and at the end of every episode it had that CG Spider-Man landing and crawling, and it was absolutely the coolest thing I'd ever seen, and I replayed that 3-second clip over and over again. Mighty Orbots had really great animation, but that was the best. Spider-Man. Cut.